Welcome, welcome, welcome. Jay Falconio from Remco Real Talk, and I'm in the studio with a very special guest, Luke Acree.
What's up, my man?
The president of ReminderMedia, local company with a national reach.
Exactly. Soon to be international reach if
Wow.
I have my way, but
you always
we'll
get
see.
your way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So my thing about our relationship, before I get into the ooey gooey love story, business development details for everybody, I have to set the stage, and I'll make it short, but I need to touch on one particular marketing topic, and that's Touchpoints.
Yes.
And you are the master of Touchpoints.
I try to be.
And the product that we'll get into and we'll discuss a little bit more about ReminderMedia is all about Touchpoints. And, I'm a customer. I've been a customer for about 5 years. But when I met Luke, we were at a conference in Dallas, Texas. 8% Nation, Cody Askins, and Pete Fournier, who's now, honestly, one of my best friends.
That's awesome. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Pete's a great guy.
Yeah, so shout out to you guys. You brought us together. But Luke was working the stand with one of his other team members, and on the first day, he saw me and my,
Jay made me work really hard for this deal.
Yes. Yeah, and it was all touchpoint related. I don't know what the number is, 9+ touch points to make a sale. I don't know what the actual statistic is, but you truly kept up with that. And there was a level of genuine level of when you talked about your product, and I've never actually physically seen this face-to-face, anyone other than yourself or some of your team members. When you talked about your product, you actually believed that it worked. Now, I'm happy to say it does work, but you cared and you evoked so much emotion about your product that I was just like, this guy just seems like such a great guy, and he's talking about this product. So after about 9 or 10 touch points throughout a 3-day span of being in Texas, we ended up, contracting ReminderMedia as our digital newsletter marketing platform. And I can tell you the product is very interesting in the fact that you personalize it.
Yeah.
So my insurance prospective clients or current clients are getting suggested newsletters. The geo-focused newsletter is my favorite. I have a true example testimonial where we had a new client whose wife was a Wizards fan.
Okay.
He's from Philly, and you sent us that the Wizards were playing the 76ers at Wells Fargo. And he said, I saw that email, and I totally forgot that they were playing them, and I bought tickets for my wife. And we went to the game, and it was awesome.
Yes, there you go. That's what we're looking for. Exactly. And they thought of you. In
of
that awesomeness,
course.
They thought of you.
Of course. And, it helps that, there is contact information at the bottom, but it's a very non-aggressive way of saying, hey, we care about you. There's health and wellness blogs as well that you guys put out. So that product really, really is doing well for us, and it really has helped, our brand grow. And I know there's a lot more that that goes along with your brand, but that's a testimonial and an intro story for you and ReminderMedia.
Well, geez, man, you make me blush here live on your podcast. No, I really appreciate, obviously, you being a client. I appreciate you having me on the show. Mm-hmm. Marketing is my passion. So when you talk about Touchpoints, my goal, and especially it ties into what your story is there, is I believe people do business with people they know, like, and trust. We've all heard that slogan till almost ad nauseum, till we're blue in the face. The problem is, tactically, how do you actually get people to know you, to like you, and to trust you? And the biggest mistake we make in business is that we tend to market from what we want, not from where the client's at. Mm-hmm. So as an insurance agent, we tend to send only insurance information. We only send product information. And the problem with that is you only need insurance when you need it. Exactly. You don't want to think about it 24/7. So you got to connect with people on the things about their life. And that's more relationship-driven stuff, lifestyle-driven stuff. I always like to say, hey, you got to get people to know, like, and trust you. Like is not just about personality. I've got to like you personally. Mm-hmm. But it's actually more about shared values. Mm-hmm. Tony Robbins teaches that, rapport is built off of commonality. So people do business with people they like, but people do business with people they are like.
That's
and
true.
So when you're showcasing things that you are into or values that you have, so like a perfect example, I'm married to my wife, Megan. I have 2 kids. I go to church. I play my church praise band. I was homeschooled all the way to college. When I share these details of my life, anybody who listens to this that has a commonality with that, maybe they have the same faith as me or they're a parent or whatever it is, there's a natural closeness that we have.
Yes.
Your goal in business is to send touch points that evoke that evoke that emotion, that get people to know you, because people don't do business with the best. They do business with the most known.
That's such a good point. And I can go on and on about just some of our meetings over the past 4 or 5 years, how you've actually helped me get closer to my clients. I mean, I can give you the examples of that client appreciation event that we've ran, and it was a home run.
They're dynamite.
Like, thank you for that. So Luke kind of suggested, like, you're going after new clients. Yes, of course. But what about the ones you have? How do you know? And the idea of the family photo at the park event, we did it.
Love it.
We did it. Like that's
But that's
awesome.
the separator of you, man, because you're an executor. Most people hear an idea and they don't execute.
When someone gives me a play, somebody like you, if I would be an idiot to not take the advice. I'll say that, and I'll be blunt about it. When somebody who I know is more successful or knows something better than I do, I eat my humble pie and say, I'm going to run that play. Even if it's not perfect, at least I'm going to execute it.
You would think more people would think that way, but they don't. I don't know why. I've just, in the years I've been doing this, it's like the biggest failure people have is not head knowledge, it's heart knowledge, because heart knowledge gets people to take action, and they just can't connect the dots between what they know up here and what they believe down here.
Yeah.
And, that's not a knock on anybody. It's just a reality to say, hey, look, if people are like you and just took action on things that they know to be true.
Well, I'm just going to continue to run down the thanks to Luke list right now, because
I love
we're
this
on
podcast,
a podcast. We're on a podcast right now, but where was my first podcast? It was with you. It was with you in King of Prussia with your team.
I love it.
It was an excellently kind of scheduled, and everything was so cleanly done. And I realized at that point that personally, could I execute that myself? No, but I needed to go out and find somebody like Joe in Sweet Recording who has allowed that to become a reality.
What a great studio in here that Joe has. I mean, sick.
He's awesome. So
shout
out to Sweet Recording, and we're the local company to us, and he does great things across the country in setting up podcasts. But to your point, I realized, I'm not the person to run this myself. I need a team. I need an assist. So thanks to Joe for that. The other thanks, we're just gonna get it all out, is the ability to go to that conference, right? Like I've watched you do things and I'm like, why is he doing that? Private jets with all these people. Are they making business? Believe it or not, yes. You're making lifelong connections that are going to get you business. So I continue to try to stay in the circle of those conferences. And even if I can't physically go, I just try to, stay in the DMs or stay on top of mind with people, because I'll mention it right now. I hope he's listening. I want this segment to go out. Pete Fournier and I are really changing the PNC game.
I love that.
What he has done with ATIG and what we're doing together is groundbreaking. And I wanted to share that because he's smart and he thinks outside the box. I'm going to have
Pete back on our show, man. I didn't realize you guys had advanced it.
I'm sending him cigars and I mean, this guy, but because he gets it, the Swiss Army knife mentality. He knows he's not going to be in PNC. But him and I worked on kind of building out this RMS that tags agents across the country. And it has allowed me to learn that I can confidently say that Remco can write business insurance across the entire country, because we almost have one client in every state except Hawaii and Alaska.
Wow, man, that's incredible.
I know this is giving me goosebumps, because my team is executing on business leads that are being sent in across the country.
That's incredible.
What we did learn, and this is a shout out, if there's an agent out there who sells home and auto insurance in any of these states and you're independent, please reach out to me, because we cannot compete with these out-of-state home and auto rates. Which is interesting. So Pete and I have built like this RMS where we're tagging agents. If you joined the RMS, you're part of the ATIG family, you're part of this ecosystem.
Educate me. What's an RMS? Is a relationship management system?
Referral management system.
Okay,
and we use Go High Level.
Yeah, okay, perfect.
Okay, so basically, if you're an agent, you sign up for this, you're in the ecosystem, you're able to get automated leads.
Okay, beautiful. Yeah.
And who
doesn't want automated leads?
he just thought outside the box, where because of the annuities, the life and the health and Medicare, it's kind of like the whole nation's fair game.
Sure.
But when it comes to PNC insurance, it's super, super geosensitive.
Okay.
So him and I have worked together, and I'm telling you, he's getting me connected with people. We're writing some wine bars in Texas. Dang. Some crazy scrap yards in
and all
Louisiana.
That came from you going to conferences and building relationships, and it's just amazing.
It came from consistently being present and being real with them, making sure that
proximity is power, as the saying goes. Right. Yeah. So, I love the quote that you can put a flower in the desert and it dies. You can take the same flower, put it in good soil, and it blossoms. It's like, what soil are you in?
Yeah.
And as a business owner, as someone who's anyone, you don't even have to be a business owner, someone who's trying to be successful, what dictates your success is oftentimes your environment.
Yeah.
You took the chance to put yourself in those positions. Most of the time, people, they get blocked. And I've found myself here too, is because you start thinking about the cost. and not the value, right? That you start thinking about, oh, the time, I don't have the money to get to that conference. I don't want to actually have to go through the awkwardness of networking and introducing myself. And it's like those things, those decisions are really what can change the game for you.
Yeah.
But you got to be willing to work it. And then also it's like, I've been learning this more and more in business. Maybe this is obvious to some people, but patience is like one of the ultimate skills of business. You have to have the patience to be able to endure the pain. You have to have the patience to be able to step over the dime to get the dollar, not the dollar to get the dime.
Correct.
And with relationships, it's a lot of stepping over dimes to get dollars. It's like you have to pass up on the short-term game to get the long-term gain.
Yeah.
And that's a really hard thing to do. And it just is so apparent in all the great entrepreneurs. It's how hard, what is it, Mike Tyson or Muhammad Ali, how hard you can take a punch and get back up or whatever.
Rocky.
That's Rocky. There you go. I don't even know my own Rocky quotes. Jeez.
Yeah.
You know, but that is what it is. It's your ability that you're just humble enough to go and put yourself in those situations. Same here. It's
and
like,
endure.
Yeah.
And endure. Yeah.
Endure.
I mean, good point. I mean, with that, you know, are you still, because I know you've been active in the networking scene locally now, you know, are you still putting that as a top priority for you and ReminderMedia? Are you still that go-to voice? Because you are.
It means, I guess it depends what you mean by active in the local scene. I mean, relationships are still number one name of the game for me. In terms of going to conferences, doing things like that, I still do a ton of that stuff. I'm doing a lot more speaking, as they say, at different events. And I'll speak at local events no matter what the size because it's awesome. And I just want to get out there and meet people. But really where my true focus is right now as a business is how do I build leaders? Because I'm a good marketer. I'm a good salesman. I believe I can improve in those areas and get to great, but I'm realizing that, I've hit a lid. And I think my leadership lid, to quote John Maxwell, because we're going through I'm taking my whole executive team and leadership team through 21 irrefutable laws of leadership.
Smart.
But it's essentially, it's like my leadership lid is replicating myself and letting go and letting people do their thing.
Yeah.
And focusing on bigger things. And that's a hard thing.
It is hard, isn't it?
For me to do.
It would be easier if they could just clone a bunch of Lukes.
Well, yeah, and that's probably arrogant to say,
but that's really good looking. It would be a really good looking business.
There you go. All right, man. I love this podcast. This is my new favorite podcast, ladies and gentlemen. No, it's just you have to have such a different skill set to be a great leader than to be a great salesman. Yeah. And those skill sets can help you. There's crossover. But leadership is different. And so
do you find that it's easier to find a leader from your, maybe immediate family or close friends or things like that? Because I find that a lot of
in the short term, yes. In the long term, though, it's harder.
That's a really good answer.
Yeah. In the long term,
because it's so easy to
I have family in the business, as you know. My uncle's in the business. My cousin was our chief revenue officer. My brother's our marketing director. Yeah. It's easier in the short term because there's a built-in trust.
Exactly.
And great teams are built on trust.
Yep.
But the problem is to have immense trust, you have to have healthy conflict. And like that's a prerequisite for trust is you have to have healthy conflict. Otherwise you have a surface level trust. But when you actually fight with somebody in a good way and you come out the other side, when you go through pain and suffering with somebody, come out the other side, you have a bond that you can't have unless you've gone through that.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. So that's not me. That's Patrick Lencioni. He wrote the 5 dysfunctions of a team. And that's one of the main dysfunctions is they don't have trust and because they don't have healthy conflict. So my point with that, to tie it full back, is it's really hard to have healthy conflict with a sibling or someone you have to have over for Thanksgiving or someone that you're their nieces and nephews, you have nieces and nephews with them or your kids or
I just find that across.
It's complicated.
It's super complicated, and I find that a lot of businesses, regardless of what industry, as they scale, sometimes it's like, let me get somebody in the family licensed or certified or something. So legally that we can transact business is like the solution. And there's a lot of examples of that, but I do agree with you. I think finding a team of also unique personalities, and disciplines and skill sets. And then, but that is hard to.
Well, what happens always in business, and I mean, sorry, I don't know where you want to take the podcast, but
no, go for it.
What happens to people in business, because it's happened to me, is the Peter principle happens, where you have someone who's insanely good. And like I remember, like when we were 10 million, it takes a lot different skill set than when you're at 70 million.
Yeah.
And so what happens to people is you get a Jay and he's phenomenal and you promote him up, and then he didn't change. The organization just grew because he did what he was supposed to do. But the level of skill that's needed at this level is now outside of Jay's skill set.
Do you believe that that's the plateau? Because I've heard it so many times before. It's like it's really hard to take it from a $10 million company to a $100 million company, and then super hard to take it from that 100 to the next billion. So it's like where there are those levels, like you just have to change. It's almost like a golf swing, right?
Yeah.
If you want to break 90. You got to figure out the game. If you want to break 80, if you want to break 80, you got to change your swing. I mean, a lot of people, if they want to break 80, so it's
and guess what? When you have to change your swing, you go backwards before you go forwards.
That's true.
You get worse before you get better.
Yeah.
And most people don't want to get worse. Most people don't want to go back. They don't want to go through that embarrassment. I think that I don't know where the break points are.
Yeah.
They're smarter than people than me out there that have tried to define them, like Alex Hormozi or Brandon Dawson, those type of guys. But what I have found is you have to be, the breakdown is in your goal, your desire is not big enough and strong enough in order to make you have the hard conversation with somebody that you love.
Okay.
And if you're a good leader, you love all your team. You want all your team to succeed. You want the people to come with you. You don't want to have to fire somebody. You don't want to have to demote somebody. You don't have to bring someone in over them. Because that's hard. And so all of a sudden you start not getting what you need because that person's skill set's a little weak. They need someone over them, so which means they're going to feel like they got something taken away. They've been demoted. Well, what happens to most entrepreneurs is their desire to make the extra money is not big enough.
Got it.
And this is the true thing I've learned about leadership is you're not there for your desire. This is why you have the mom and pops and then you have the ones that make it big. You're not there for your desire. You're there to accomplish the vision and the mission of the organization.
Right.
And your job as the leader, if you want to be in charge, whether you own it or not own it, if you want to be in charge of that business, you must accomplish the vision and the mission. And I think of a great example of the commanders during World War II sending the troops into battle. And can you imagine being a leader who is so focused on the vision and mission that you're willing to send troops into battle, knowing they're going to die, but you're doing it for the vision and mission.
Yeah.
And that's the only way you can truly lead because it's not about you. It's not about them.
It's a very hard knocks example, but it's so clear. And it also brings back to, does everyone know what the vision is?
Exactly.
Like, the vision of war is to win, clear. And that's why, that example.
And you're fighting evil.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm not saying ReminderMedia, we're conquering evil, but we sure are, baby.
Defending the White Walkers.
These insurance agents, man, they need more referrals. They're losing them. That's evil.
That's absolutely true. The White Walkers, they're out there. We have to get the
people
good
are like,
ones.
This guy's a psychopath.
Yeah, that's why it's real talk, man. You just let it happen. But to your point, I mean, what is the vision? I mean, you have all these companies where the vision of, somebody who's working as a receptionist is clearly not the vision of, the CEO, but are they all buying in on the company's vision, right? And that's where it's not desire, it's vision. So good point. So with ReminderMedia, I mean, I am curious about this new wave to stay paid because you guys have a very successful podcast as well. How many episodes did you guys do?
Man,
hundreds?
We at least are maybe we're touching 700 episodes.
700 episodes.
Yeah.
This new way of doing it, though, I think is genius.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
It's also kind of like, it's going to be exciting.
Yeah. It's going to be.
There's going to be some real talk.
I hope we can pull it off. We've recorded.
Are you trying to keep it super clean?
I hope it gets just crazy, right? But we've recorded like 4 or 5 episodes now. So our show was a traditional show, and still we'll have components of that where we interview really successful people like yourself and entrepreneurs, coaches, thought leaders across the industry. And we have kind of switched it up now to be a call-in show.
I love it.
And we have enough listeners and enough people that send us questions that it's not true call-in as like they're literally calling in live right then. It is they have reached out to us with a question and they said, I want to come on the show. So we just say, hey, you're going to come on the show this date, show up, to this. And we're having people show up and they don't know it's not prepped. We're not prepped.
It's
literally, we're bringing them on. And we're like, hey, Jay, welcome to the show. Jay's out of Kentucky. He's in insurance. Jay, what's the biggest problem that's happening in your business?
I love it.
And we've got some good stuff, man. We had a lady come on that will come out on an episode. She has 2 kids on disability.
Okay.
And insurance. Okay. And struggling, like just trying to figure out how to scale.
Yes.
And it's like she's at a loss. And so we give her our thoughts on where you need to go. And we're just giving what we've done to grow our businesses and stuff like that.
I think it's genius for this one reason. And I also, on a smaller scale, small pilot, I think Joe and I might be up to like 30 or 35 episodes. Okay. But when I look back at the first couple, I had a script. The guests were all nervous and stuff. I mean, if you're listening, the guests, I mean, I don't know, you might know who you are. You did great. I didn't. So like, it was so scripted. And then I just said, screw this. I mean, there was some direction that was emailed to you prior, but basically this is a free-for-all.
Yeah.
And then people started liking it more and the emotion started coming out. So then I was like, okay, so I like that style. And it makes me interested to see if like it picks up, which it will. It'll pick up more speed where then you turn into a call-in show.
Oh yeah,
and
my true hope is
taking realtors while they're in their car after they're like
that's
fizzled,
my true hope because we are having that already.
Yeah.
But my true hope is that it's just a literal just call because these are call-ins, but I'm transparent with people. We had 386 people submit their questions. And we're just going through them and getting them lined up on the show. And we have even more that have submitted so far. Yeah.
And how to kind of get to that point too. Eventually you may come maybe like one universal topic for the week. Yep. And then just like, because when
my key is to bring on experts, right? So if like,
solve.
That's where I want to take the show. Where I want to take it is I'm going to give you my takes and stuff, but like I know a lot of smarter people than me, right? Pete Fernair, stuff like that. Yeah. It's like, imagine getting an incredible expert on that you never could access before.
Okay.
But now you can call in and talk to this person because Luke Acree has set it up to have them on the show.
Do they know that they're going to be on the show? Or are you going to say, hey, Bonnie, like I know you're in your car getting ready to have an anxiety attack about not closing that deal, but I have X rockstar realtor on.
Yeah, that's a great point. I haven't thought that through. Like, yeah, I haven't thought that through, but that's a great idea. That would add an effect to it.
I just want it to run like Preston Steve.
Yeah. But that's my hope.
No, it's cool.
In the driver of the show is, there's so many thought leaders out there. There's so many influencers. Yes. It's so hard to trust anymore. And knowledge is kind of in a way free now with ChatGPT. I mean, let's talk about AI, man.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Geez. But a great way to learn is to learn through other people and what they've done and what they're struggling with. It's how we can connect. I don't know. It's just easier to learn that way. So when I hear Jay struggle on something and someone gives a thought on it, it helps me process my own self in that.
In a way, it's kind of like also why we network face to face, but you're bottling it all up and you're kind of putting it through a medium, which I think is great because I love, even as an insurance guy, I love watching two realtors talk about their horror stories. Yeah. Like I love it. Like I'm just like, ooh.
Yeah.
But then I'm also learning too. So I would listen, not even having anything to do with real estate. And I know you service a lot of other different industries and we're just real estate heavy, but they make for the best stories. But I like the wholesalers and the flipper stories too, and like the gutters.
Well, there's a lot of horror stories there.
So my point is it's entertaining content. It's stuff that at networking events, I'll be at live later on with one of my buddies. I'm looking forward to chatting with people that are in totally different industries and hearing their dirty laundry.
What's happening. Like we had a tax lady call in. She's trying to debate whether she should open up a brick and mortar. She's been totally virtual. And she's like, should I open a brick and mortar? And so we just broke down, here's how I would think about it. Here's what I would look at. Here's why would you want to do that? What's an average client for you? Yeah. And so if you're in that situation where you're like, maybe I should have a brick and mortar, this will be a great call for you 100%. To listen to.
And you're also giving them, like you brought up the ChatGPT, you're giving them real life people with real life problems problems and then real life solutions.
Yep.
It's scary. We got a lead. I posted on Facebook. I don't post on Facebook very often.
Okay.
But for us, it was a middle market account. So it was a nice premium. But the guy went on Google and talked to ChatGPT and said, I'm in the Philadelphia area and I need business insurance. Who do I call?
And Rimco.
And we got the lead and we sold it.
Get out of here,
and then
dude.
I'm like,
congrats, man.
I'm like, I'm just like, holy shit. Like, you know, what's amazing. Going on,
It's amazing AI's referring you because it means that whatever it's sourcing,
I looked into that.
It's seeing you.
So it's pulling a combination of the Google reviews.
That's amazing.
It's pulling a combination of, what we're tagged in, what we're around. The Google business profile, I try my best to complete all the sections.
Okay.
I think that there is some validity and
there is 100%.
Even in the updates, and we worked together on the Google pilot program. I mean, you helped me with that. I forgot about that. So again, another hats off to Luke and his team.
It's been a few years now. It's been pretty crazy.
Yeah.
When you think about how time flies, how long we've known each other. So it's pretty awesome.
It's good, but it's always been very helpful and constructive feedback, and always with the right intentions.
But that is the future. Like AI, there's no way to run from it. Not that we would even want to, but it is like everything's going to change and already is in the next 3 years. And I think the one thing that won't change is what I call is like trust and influence. Mm-hmm. And so as a business, if I were a business owner today, this is what I'm focused on. I don't know if it will work or not. You really should focus on, do you have the influence and trust over your ideal client or ideal target audience? And that trust comes from what? Your brand, which your brand is a reputation. Mm-hmm. Your brand is the content you put out there. Your brand is the mixture of experiences that people have with you and what they say about you. Yeah. And so I would focus really heavily right now if I were people on going, hey, my database, do they know, like, and trust me? My database, do they see me as the subject matter expert in whatever it is?
Good point.
Because it's going to turn into a world where people don't use screens anymore. It's just voice.
Well, it's going to be, that's your data. All that information is your data that's going to be fed through some software or something that's going to recommend your company.
Well, dude, I just got an incredible hack at one of the events I spoke at this week, which was Drew Thompson. Shout out to him. He's a guy that speaks all over the country for Real Brokerage. But he was talking about AI, and he said one hack that you should do right away is every day pull up your ChatGPT, Gemini, whichever one you use, and journal your day. Tell ChatGPT, here's what I did today. Hook it up to your calendar if you want to, but here's what I did today. Here's what I felt. Here's what happened. Here are the highs. Here are the lows. Journal your day. He said, imagine doing that for a year and then going, hey, please take on the role of a therapist. Hey, please take on the role of a business coach. Please take on the role of a doctor. And then it has all your days. It could tell you your blind spots, your tendencies. It's like,
I Luke, just can't you shouldn't have had that extra slice of pizza. I mean,
that's where it's going to get to,
I know a buddy I list because there was a guy's using it as a fitness coach. And he's down like 25 pounds.
Dude, snap a picture of your pantry and then ask it to give you recipes that you should make this week.
How much do you feel like, honestly, would you trust it though? To be accurate?
I trust it pretty immensely.
Okay. All right. So you're all in. All right. You're all in.
I'm a high on it of like, of course you got to use your intuition and try to, like, I always ask it for the sourcing. Like, where did you get this? Right. How did you come up with this? And like the reason why it's dominating, it's going to kill search is because it's interactive. So Google, I can search and I get it, but I have to parse through. Yeah. With Gemini, right, or with OpenAI or whichever one you use, I can ask it for something and it can give it and it suggests other questions to me. And the suggestions are the best part right now. It's like, oh yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah, I would want to know that.
And it's super polite. Yeah. Even like when you catch, it's your mistake and you're just like, I'm sorry.
I'm doing a study through the book of Acts in the Bible with my wife, and we just kicked it off and just started it. And so, we're doing this workbook and, so I read the first chapter of Acts out of the Bible, then I do this workbook. And then I went to ChatGPT. And after I did the whole workbook and did my own thoughts, I went to ChatGPT and said, hey, please take on the role of a biblical scholar and a teacher. You're going to be my guide. Do this study through the book of Acts. We're going to use the ESV version translation. And it goes, awesome. And it asked me a bunch of questions of what I would want to do. And I said, let's go expository verse by verse. And the beautiful thing about it, and this is just an example of what you can do in any area of your life, is it starts going verse by verse and breaking out, here's what the verse is, here's some key points. And it ties it to other references in the Bible. Mm-hmm. And then at the end, there's an example. It's like there's this verse of they cast lots to pick the next apostle. And I was like, the casting of lots, I said, what does that mean in historical context? Mm-hmm. Like, what did that mean during that time? Where else in the Bible is this referenced? And boom, within just a second, dude, it is telling me all the other places that it was referenced in the Bible. It was telling me the exact meaning of what it meant. And I'm just like, the speed at which would take me forever. This would take me 30 minutes to an hour to research.
To the point where some of these biblical scholars read it 100 times to pick up on these connections. And whereas it probably would make it for a much more enjoyable experience. More people would probably read it. Yep.
So it's not that you shouldn't still value the stuff, but it's just a tool that can make you so much more effective. So the way I think about it is, how do we use AI? So we have our writers. How do we use AI to make our writers 50%, 75% more productive? How do we use AI to make our customers not have to talk to us so they can get it done for them without talking to us? Like, how do we use it to make us more effective? That's how every business should think about it.
And that's smart. And I've also witnessed that too. As ReminderMedia has scaled over the 5 years of being a user, I've seen the way that you've added that. And from the customer's perspective, they just want something quick, easy, and accurate.
That's why Amazon wins. It's like Jeff Bezos, man.
It's crazy.
His philosophy is, think out not what you want to do. Think out 10 years of what will be the same. And that is such a powerful business hack. Not what will change, not what you want, what will be the same. And you're like, well, what does that mean? What are you talking about, Jeff Bezos? He goes, well, will customers 10 years from now want things fast? Will customers 10 years from now want things at the lowest price? Will customers 10 years from now want things where it is easy to use? And you're like, yeah,
yes,
all those things.
Yes.
So those are your guiding North Stars. It's like, well, we know that we're going to continue to drive towards convenience, speed, cheapest, or I should say most cost effective. So you go, oh, that's really, really intelligent. Of all the tools, mediums, things like that might change, but what won't change?
I love what he does for team meetings. Did you hear about the PowerPoint? He doesn't.
No, but I know he doesn't approve of them. Yeah,
but he has everybody, read a pre-script.
Oh,
and
you're talking
he
about
sits around and everyone reads it. Yeah, because it's so true. I mean, look, he's an outside the box thinker, and I mean, obviously,
I wish I could, meet him. That'd be incredible.
Maybe keep talking the way you're talking on stage. I mean, you're doing great things, man. So
thank you, brother.
What's next for you this summer? I mean, you have any big thing at Reminder Media that you wanted to?
So we have the release of our first question Q&A call-in show coming up this Monday. So that will be sick.
Okay.
So we'll see. Cross our fingers that we get better at that, and it keeps growing. So that's a huge piece. Other than that, the biggest thing I'm doing is trying to shift the organization to be an AI-first organization. That's a very difficult thing because you have to actually be an AI-first organization to say that, and that's hard. So we're doing a lot of work there to try to implement AI in our business. And then personally, we're launching a church plant in Worcester, PA, or Worcester, PA. Yeah, we're doing a church plant. So a Next Community Church is launching a church in Worcester. It's going to be called Abide Church, which, love if you're in Worcester, that area, come on out.
Very cool.
So I can get you the address. But a part of that, so obviously music's a passion of mine, worship music, stuff like that. So going to be involved in that.
That's awesome.
Yep.
I'll be honest, that's the worship music's catchy.
I love worship music, man. I grew up playing it. So.
And what instrument do you play?
I play piano and guitar.
Oh, man.
Yep.
That's awesome.
So I used to play trumpet as my first instrument, but I went to a camp when I was a young, 12, 13-year-old boy, and nobody likes the trumpet player.
No one likes the trumpet.
So that's how vain I am, I guess. And so I came home, and I was like, I don't want to play trumpet anymore. I want to play guitar because there was a kid there that played guitar, and everybody, thought he was so cool. So
the other part about your marketing tactics, and I know that everything that you put out is so real. A lot of people who are listening, the combination of the family post and even being on vacation, I realized that I need to kind of incorporate more what's Jay's real life about because it's so insurance heavy. But you do a good job of balancing the two.
Thank you.
So that's something for those who are listening. I think bringing back to the point that people want to deal with people that they relate to, people that they like. So don't be too shy to let people in on the good parts.
Good marketing is like a magnet, is the saying. It repels and attracts. So if your marketing is working, you will be repelling people away almost as much as you are attracting people to you. And at least in the service-based industry, there's a lot of truth in that because, look, depending on your politics, 50% of the nation hates you, 50% loves you, right? Depending on your religion, right? So it's a lot of times we're like, I don't want to talk about politics. I don't want to talk about religion. I don't want to talk about these things that are controversial. It's like, well, those are the things that make you human.
It's true.
Those are the most important things in people's lives. So hopefully the other side of that equation, wherever you stand, is mature enough to go, hey, people can have difference of opinion, but it's key in marketing. This is why you see who are the influencers. They're not the put together people. They're the controversial people, right? Grant Cardone is insanely controversial. Kim Kardashian, insanely controversial. Donald Trump, insanely controversial, right? So all these people, but they have their beliefs. They have their values. They put them out there. And guess what? Grant Cardone's saying, I love, one day they hate me. One day they love me. Both days I get paid.
That's a great saying. I'm sure Kanye would say the same thing.
Yeah, probably. But, although Kanye's taking it to a new level. Yeah, he's definitely repelled me away.
I tell you, man. So, well, I think that there's a lot to take in when you're, I guess a face of a company.
Sure.
That's something that I didn't realize that until it happened. There people started actually looking at it and I know this photo. I try to use the same one all the time. Eventually I'm gonna have to update it, but I know this photo, but what is the company? Whereas now it's actually people know Remco, and it's not, I'm thankful they know Remco. They don't necessarily know that photo of me or Jay. So I think that when marketing, you know, also making sure that your team who's actually delivering the product, as much as they might not want to get out there and market themselves personally, but market the brand and be proud of that. And then Google reviews, really, I try to share the Google reviews with the entire team as much as possible, because they're the ones, you know, that are really making the magic happen.
Yeah, 100%.
So,
like, I think you're spot on. It's like every person with inside the company should also be marketing themselves.
Exactly.
Because that's only going to help the company grow.
Yeah.
It's only helping them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I will say, you know, we're reaching the end of the episode
already, man.
Yeah,
Jeez,
no, we have a little extra time.
Yeah.
What is there anything we didn't touch on that you want to?
No, I mean, obviously, really appreciate the friendship, the relationship. Love what you're doing. I think it's stellar. I would just encourage people that, hey, man, the reason why you're winning is because you're taking action. Mm-hmm. And if there's anything I've learned in life, the thing that kills most people, myself included, is silent pride. So most of us are not arrogant and boisterous externally. We're silently arrogant and boisterous, and silently we have this pride that keeps us from posting the social post because we care too much about what the person thinks, making the phone call because we hate the rejection, having the hard conversation with the teammate because we want them to like us, not respect us, right? And so I would just encourage you, like, do what Jay has done, because you got to humble yourself. You got to just take action and be willing to look dumb in front of people. And as cliche as that sounds, you will iterate faster than the person that never does it.
Amen.
And
Amen
that's the key.
I appreciate all the kind words. And my hallmark pieces are basically go to the event, because this relationship wouldn't have happened. If you don't know how to do something, find someone who does and run the play. You know, I mean, it might not be the Philly special in the first play, but you know, it'll at least be a little bit more focused. And the more you try, the more you'll get good at it. The other piece is, you know, be smart with technology. I think that we talked on that a little bit. So don't be afraid of it. You know, we're trying to do a few things in the office that scare the bejeebus out of me, to believe it or not. And I bring it up to the team sometimes, and like, does that mean we're not going to have jobs anymore? I'm like, I don't want you to think that, but I want us to, if I can save you 5 minutes and make you more productive to focus your time and energy on a higher task, then we're taking a step.
Yeah, just encourage them. It's going this way, whether you want it to or not. And so I'm trying to help you learn the skill.
And then the last piece is be persistent with your follow-up and be genuine. You know, like, I think I try my best to always remember, whether you know, are in my friendship circle or my business circle, I try to, you know, acknowledge Father's Day, acknowledge happy birthdays, do the little things, and stay in front of these people. No matter how big they are, they're still humans. So a guy like Luke, you know, I'm proud to say that he's on my podcast right now, but he's somebody that I look up to, and he's a mentor for me. And there's a few others in the industry that I would say the same. So just, you know, shoot your shot with the big guys. So Luke, I appreciate you taking the time to be on here.
Appreciate you, brother. Thanks for having me.
All right, my man. Talk to you. See you guys.